Channel, and today this video will be talking about things to do right outside the Disneyland Resort. Now, the first place I like to talk about that you can do right outside of Disneyland is Knott's Berry Farm, which it's located in Buena Park, California. It's up the freeway by Disneyland, and it's just about like a 15 to a 20-minute drive to Buena Park to Knott's Berry Farm. And Knott's Berry Farm has like a bunch of roller coasters. They have other kinds of rides. So if you have kids that are really into like big roller coasters, that this will be the park for them to check all the roller coasters out. Plus, what Knott's Berry Farm really has to offer, they have Ghost Town, which it's really neat. It's an old western town. Um, and it has lots of things to do. There's like a real life blacksmith you can visit. There's a gold mining area where you can mine for gold. There's a saloon. There's some exhibits, and there's all kinds of shops. There's some restaurants that you can eat at. They got some rides in that area, like there's a train that you can ride on, and then while you're on the train, they'll have train robbers coming around telling people to give them money and everything. It's so cool, and they're very entertaining and really funny. And they have a stagecoach. They have a log ride that's famous at that park, and which is called the Timber Log Ride, and that's what Splash Mountain was actually inspired by, was the log ride at Knott's Berry Farm. Plus, they have a River Rapid ride that they just recently redone by bringing in audio animatronics in. It's really cool. It's called Calico's River Rapid, and it's really neat. And they also do have a roller coaster called Ghost Rider, which is a wooden roller coaster. It's really neat, and you'll see it at Knott's Berry Farm, and you can absolutely drive through it because there's like a driveway that you can drive in front of the entrance and everything, and you go like underneath it and everything. It's really cool, and it's a great roller coaster, and it's not really that bad or anything. It's really neat. And plus, they got some other theming areas. There's like Boardwalk, where they have like boardwalk games, some rides like there's some roller coasters in that area. And then they have a 4D shooting ride, which I just recently heard that shooting ride won't be around anymore because next year they're going to be celebrating 100 years of Knott's Berry Farm, and they're bringing back a classic ride, this time in 4D, called the Knott's Berry Tales. So that's going to be opening up next year in the summer, so that's really cool, and I'm very excited about that. Plus, they do got some family rides in that area as well. It's they got some really neat attractions for the whole entire family to ride on, and they got bumper cars too and everything. Really good stuff. And there's Fiesta Village. They have their own version of the teacups, which is called the Hat Dance and everything. And they got some other rides in that area as well, and some entertainment. And both those areas do have arcades. Both Boardwalk and Fiesta Village do have arcades, and which they have classic arcade games from the old days, including the new ones. And they got Camp Snoopy for your little kids to ride on for Charlie Brown. They got like the Red Baron, and then they got like some little coaster rides and everything, and little carnival rides for them. And Camp Snoopy is actually really neat. They do have some neat stuff in that area, and plus you can get your hands on the Peanuts merchandise and everything, which that's really awesome. I like that. Plus, they got the Mrs. Knott's Fried Chicken Dinner House, which her fried chicken is really the best, and that's what got Knott's Berry Farm on the map and everything. And it's right in front of the park entrance. Plus, you can also enter in from the park side as well. And or heck, you can just go down to the chicken dinner restaurant and not go in the park because they do have a front entrance, and all you have to do is just pay to park, and then you can go to the chicken house restaurant and leave, and that's all you have to do. Plus, they do have a shopping area that's right in front of the park where you don't have to get like a park mission. Again, all you have to do is just pay for parking, and you can go through some of those shops and eat at some of the restaurants in that area. And they do have a TGI Fridays in that area as well. Plus, there's a Johnny Rockets in the boardwalk area, and of course, Knott's Berry Farm has some really good treats. Like the best treat I have ever had is their funnel cake. It comes with a boysenberry on it, some whipped cream on it, and it's really really good. So I recommend try it and get it in the Ghost Town area, and it's really good. You will not be disappointed. And and then the second place that you can also do outside of Disneyland in the Orange County area is you can go visit South Coast Plaza, which is right across from which, or actually not right across. It's located in Costa Mesa, California, and it's just about like a 20 to 25-minute drive from Disneyland to there, and it's a luxurious high-end mall. Has over 250 stores and 35 restaurants, and they got some art galleries there. They got three performing arts centers there right across from the mall. One is called the Segerson Center for the Arts, the other the Henry and Reed Concert Hall, if I'm pronouncing it right. And then the third one is the South Coast Respiratory Theater, which they do all kinds of Broadway shows and musical shows and orchestras, things like that. It's really neat, and uh, and they're really nice inside, and it's something that kind of reminds you of what you would see in New York City. It's really cool. Plus, in the office park where the performing arts centers are all at, they have some world famous sculpture arts that were crafted by some famous sculptors that you probably recognize. So they brought all their artworks down to Orange County, and you can check them out, and they're definitely free to see. And they'll be inside one of the office buildings, and then the rest of them will be in the office park area, and it's really cool, and it's worth taking a picture and taking a selfie of if you're really into like art and everything. Plus, they do have their own hotel, which is called the Westin South Coast Plaza Hotel, and it's absolutely right across the street from the mall. And it has like over a couple hundred rooms, has like a pool area, fitness center, all that stuff. And they got some normal shops that you can shop at, like Forever 21 and Disney Store. There's a toy store called Puzzle Zoo, which has like classic toys, modern toys, and new ones. And they got the original Star Wars action figure ones, especially from the ones of 1999, and the Kinder ones and all that stuff. They all have it there. Plus, they got two Sephora locations because they got two separate buildings of them, and they got like some other regular clothing stores that you probably will find at Southwest Plaza, like Gap and many others. There's a Kate Spade store, and there's Sunglass Hunt. There's Journey, which it's a teen store. There's a Van store, Fossil store. They have an Apple store, Microsoft store. They got a candy store called Sugar Fanta, if I'm pronouncing it right. That's also open at Southwest Plaza. They got two C's Candy locations, Hallmark, and a lot more. And for the expensive stores that you will find here at Southwest Plaza, there is Gucci, Christian Dior, Cartier, Prada, Chanel, all that stuff. Rolex. There's many more of it. And plus, there is, you will definitely not find a food court, but you'll find some restaurants that are like high end and some that everybody can able to eat at. Like there's a Clay Jumper, which is a barbecue restaurant, it has like burgers, steaks, and ribs and all that type of stuff. Plus, there's Ruby's Diner, which it's a 1940s inspired diner. It has like burgers, fries, and milkshakes and all that stuff. All kinds of American food on the menu. They also have an all-day breakfast menu, and they do serve breakfast as well. And it's a really good place. It's a great place to take the family, and great place to take your kids. Plus, I think on Tuesdays kids can eat free there, like after 4 p.m. And I wonder if they're still doing that or not. And they have Starbucks at both locations in the two separate buildings, and they do have Corner Bakery Cafe in two of them, one at the Southwest Plaza Village and the other inside the mall. And they also have some other restaurants that you can also probably able to eat at, like there's Wahoo's Fish Tacos, which is a Mexican food restaurant, and and there's a lot more. And then for the high-end ones, they recently opened one. There's a French restaurant called Knife Plate, which is very expensive. They do have some celebrity chef-owned restaurants. Like there's some that are from Top Chef, and the others from the Orange County area that are really famous. And they do have a Wolfgang Puck restaurant inside one of the Macy's there, so that's really neat. They also do have a seafood place called Water Grills. It's actually next to the hotel, right across the street from it. And then there's a like a sort of a Hispanic slash Spanish restaurant that's in one of the buildings. That's actually owned by a Top Chef finalist from the show on Food Network. Or actually, I think it's Bravo. Actually, is it? I wonder if it is or not. And and yeah, there's a lot of stuff that you can see at Southwest Plaza. Plus, they do have carousel rides for the kids, so it only costs you $1. And there's only like two of them, two separate buildings again. And if you got your ticket again and you ride it again, you can ride it for free, just as long as you have your ticket that you purchased in the first place. So yeah, and plus the third place you can also check out while you're staying at Disneyland for like a couple days or so. There's the beach. Orange County's got all kinds of beaches. There's Seal Beach, Huntington Beach, Newport Beach, Laguna Beach, Data Point Beach, and San Clemente Beach. But the closest ones are Huntington Beach, Newport Beach, and Newport Beach, of course, which I absolutely love a lot. It's really nice. It's the richest city in the United States. And they got all kinds of stuff they could do down there. Like for the kids, they got Balboa Fun Zone where there's arcades. There's a Discovery Museum that talks about the ocean and everything. And they got some rides there and everything. Plus, there's a ferry where you could take your car and your bike on one of the other Balboa Islands, which is called the Balboa Peninsula in that area. Plus, there's all kinds of restaurants you can eat at. Like there's famous ones like Charles Chili or Charlie's Chili, and it's known for serving breakfast all day and everything. Plus, there's a crab cooker known for its seafood and everything, and there's a lot of it. And there's an outdoor shopping mall called Fashion Island, which is really neat. And oh yeah, and I did forgot about Southwest Plaza. They do have department stores too. There's Macy's, Nordstrom's, and Macy's Home Store, Macy's Men's Store, Crate and Barrel, Saks Fifth Avenue, Bloomingdale's, and yeah, that's pretty much it. But for Fashion Island, yes, they do have what Southwest Plaza has, except they do have like a food court hall area. There's a Barnes and Nobles there. Um, there's a koi fish pond that you can look at. And you can absolutely walk over by walking on one of the stones in the lake area and everything. It's really neat. And they do have a carousel ride there, and it's really neat inside. And they got lots of stuff that you can really see. And they do have all kinds of other restaurants like Yard House and all that type of stuff. It's really neat. And it gets really crowded so much, and it will be hard to find parking. And it's located in this area called Newport Center, which it's their downtown area, surrounded by a bunch of tall office buildings and everything. It's a beautiful area. Plus, they also got an unincorporated city called Corona Del Mar, which they have a downtown area which has a bunch of mom and pop restaurants and stores. It's really neat. It's sort of like your typical type of Main Street area. It's really neat. Plus, there's a famous nursery called Rogers Garden, which it's like the Disneyland nursery, and it has like really nice plants and really nice stuff for your garden and decor stuff for the inside of your house. They sell like holiday decorations, all that stuff. And when it comes to holiday season, when Halloween comes around, they have their Halloween boutique that's themed to like Alice in Wonderland, all that stuff. It's really cool. And then when Christmas comes around the corner, they'll do their Christmas boutique store, and they'll have like a mall train out in their open areas and everything. It's really neat. I've been there a lot lately, and it's a really nice nursery, and you should probably check it out when you're in that area in Newport Beach. Plus, they got some other places you can check out in Newport Beach. Like, there's definitely some of the there's definitely like place where you can get fish. Like, there's a place where you can get fish like right off the beach. It's called I think it's Davy Crocker or something, and they bring in fish early in the morning until at least noontime, and it's all only open like I think on like a day or so, like on the weekends or something like that. And they'll have fishers bring in all kinds of fish like crabs and catfish and all that stuff. It's really neat. And with that, Huntington Beach, they got some all kinds of stuff that you can do down there. And there was like downtown Huntington Beach, and it's really right across the street from the beach. There's all kinds of restaurants like mom and pop ones and a bunch of surf shops and everything like that. Surf t-shirt stores and all that type of stuff. It's really cool, and and it gets a lot of people down there, and they got some nightclubs there for people who are into the nightlife stuff. They also do have a an outdoor shopping mall right across from the beach called Pacific City, which it has like like a Sephora. There's a Tommy Bahama store. There's other kinds of clothing stores that you will not find at any of your local mall. They do have a food hall area, and they have a nightclub too as well. And they got a bunch of other neat restaurants and some ones that are fancy and everything. It's really neat, and you do have to pay to park there. And the parking garage is actually right underneath the shopping mall, and it's all outdoor, and it's really really nice. It's beautiful, and I would recommend to check it out. And they do have like four hotel resorts that are all right across from the beach, and they do have one that's in the Huntington Beach area. Plus, they got their surf museum called the Huntington Beach International Surf Museum. It's free to get in, and they do take donations for like, I think for like surf charities or whatever they donate money to. And they do have their own gift shop where they sell like surf magazines, surf T-shirts, and all that stuff. It's really really neat in there. And then the fourth place that I would also recommend to visit when you're visiting Disneyland. There's some museums you could check out. Like there's a Discovery Cube Museum. It's like about like a 10-minute drive from Disneyland. It's a great place for your kids to take to. It's an interactive museum about science and everything. Plus, there will be certain times of year where they'll have like a dinosaur exhibit where they'll bring like the Matronic versions of them and everything. And it's 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 kind of like what they'll have at Disneyland in like the Tomorrowland area, like in Adventures or something like that. Really cool, and definitely highly recommend take them there for the day, and they'll have lots of fun there. And there will be some like interactive educational stuff and everything. It's so neat, and they do have some really interesting stuff there that I think kids will definitely love. The second museum, if you're a huge aviation fan like myself, there's a air museum at the John Wayne Airport, which is right across from the terminal field, and it's in the general aviation area, and it's called Lion Air Museum, and it was founded by a brigadier general of the United States Air Force, William Lyon, which he now builds houses for a living now. And he collects all the planes from World War II that he flown in World War II, which he still is alive today. And they got some neat planes inside, and they take really good care of them, and they're very shiny inside. They have like a B-17, B-25, two C-47s, one for the airlines, one for the war. They also have an SNJ-6 Texan and an A-26 light attack aircraft bomber, and they also have Hitler's car that he used from Germany to France when the French when the French surrendered to the Germans right after the events of Dunkirk. And he also would use them in the parades and the rallies and everything. And that was his transportation, and which it's really creepy. And they do have some military vehicles. They have like some vehicles from Germany and the Japanese vehicles too, and they do have lots of other military vehicles like U.S. Army Jeeps and all that stuff. It's really cool. Been inside of that museum too, and plus there will be certain times of the year where they'll bring in some classic cars like Ferraris, cars from the 30s, 40s, 50s, porch cars, and that type of stuff, and celebrity cars and everything. They'll bring them inside of that air museum for at least a limited time event only. And plus, they also have a hangar door that you can definitely see the airport by hearing the airline planes taking off and landing at John Wayne Airport. Really great place, and you do have to pay to get into as well, and it's free parking as well. And it's a great air museum, really nice, and you can have like events there too. You can have like weddings, holiday parties, all that. It's really neat. And the hangar's really nice too. It's really nice. They take really good care of it. Really good. And then the third museum you could check out, if you're into like culture from around the world, there's a museum called the Bowser Museum. It's located in Santa Ana, California. It's near Disneyland. And they have like artifacts and everything from around the world and all that stuff, including Native American stuff and everything. And then there will be times of the year where they'll bring in some people from around the world, bring in their performers and everything, their musicians, and they'll perform right outside in front of the museum. And they also have their own restaurant, which it's really nice inside that you can eat at if you want to like to eat there or anything. And it's definitely worth it to go there if you're really into it, into like the culture stuff. Plus, they do have a second museum for your kids to do, which it's an interactive museum where they can do like arts and crafts stuff and things on the touchscreens and everything, things like that. And they call it the Browser Kid Museum, and it's definitely worth taking your kids to. So and they're right next door to each other, and it's just down the street from downtown Santa Ana. So and it's not that far away from Disneyland. It's close nearby. All right, and the last museum I like to talk about is the Richard Nixon's Library. So if you're like into the history of like presidents, politicians, and all that stuff, Richard Nixon's Library is really neat. They do have this Marine One helicopter that he took the day when he resigned from uh, office after the Watergate scandal. It's on display there. Plus, they got the Apollo 11 stuff there, the moon landing and everything. They got all kinds of stuff in there, and they'll do have like special exhibits that you can look up on the website. It's definitely cheap to get into, and and uh, and of course, they also do have like Richard Nixon's home that he grew up in and everything because he was from the Yorba Linda area in Orange County, and you could go inside and take a look around of what his house was like when he was like born and grew up in and everything. It's really neat, and it's a really nice library. It's pretty small, but it's definitely worth to visit. And then for the holidays, they'll have like all kinds of model trains because he was in the model train so much. And there are times where they'll have like some exhibits for like Disneyland just because he used to visit there when he was like vice president and while he was running for president. And that was his place. So yeah, it's really neat. And last but not least, there's one attraction that I would recommend visit that's also so close to Disneyland is Flight Simulator Center. They're about to move into their new location at the Anaheim Garden Walks, which is down the street from Disneyland. It's their outdoor shopping mall. And you could be like a fighter pilot for the day or an airline pilot. All you have to do is just buy a ticket, whether you're going to be flying a fighter jet or an airline aircraft. So the fighter jet you get to fly is an F-16 Fighting Falcon, And when you go in, they'll give you a real fighter pilot suit that were actually worn by real fighter pilots. And they'll give you like headsets and everything. They'll give you a briefing of what your mission's going to be and everything. And you can just basically dogfight against enemy MiGs and everything like that. And it's really neat. And it kind of reminds you of Top Gun, basically. And and for the airline part, you get to fly an actual airline aircraft that is a Boeing 737, not the Max one, but the original one. And all you do is you just fly towards like from LAX to John Wayne or any other destination where you're going to be flying to, and and yeah, it's really neat. Again, all you have to do is just get your ticket, and then you make your reservations of when you're going to show up, and they are only open on 5 days a week. They're actually open 5 days a week, Wednesday through Sunday. They are closed on Mondays and Tuesdays, and and plus, you can have like birthday parties there, corporate parties, and holiday parties there. And all you do is you can fly the flight simulators and do all that stuff. And you'll still get to wear the flight suits when you're going to be flying the jets and everything. It's really cool. It's definitely a great place to take your families and friends to, like, fight against each other when you're fighting against each other while you're flying in the F-16 fighting Falcon. It's really neat. Great place to go to. So their original location right now, which I think they are still at for at least a while, is right across the street from the Angel Stadium. So yeah. Alrighty, thank you so much everybody. I will do another video of things to do at Disneyland. I mean outside of Disneyland. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you later.